Hi everybody, welcome to Last Game Chronicles. My name is Kelly and today I will be reviewing my favorite games that I played on the channel in May and June of 2024. As some of you may know, I originally created this channel to document my first impression of games, and these monthly videos are my chance to give you an overview of my thoughts after I've had a chance to digest my experience. This month, I also played quite a few game demos as part of Steam Next Fest. Those games won't be included on this list, and instead, I'll have a separate video dedicated to them coming very soon. So, let's get started! At number 5, we have Echoes of the Plum Grove. Echoes of the Plum Grove is a newly released indie farming game that incorporates the mechanic of time passing in order to create a really unique experience. In a fairly crowded genre like these cozy farming games, it can be really hard to stand out, but the developers of Plum Grove have really created something that's quite unique. The static nature of many farming games tends to remove any urgency from them, but in Plum Grove things start changing nearly from day one. Your character, as well as other villagers, will age over time, and they can even die from old age, disease, and poisons. Villagers will also get married and have children, so there's always new villagers to meet and interact with as they grow up. Your character is also susceptible to these events. There's diseases that come through, such as smallpox, as well as certain items that can just kill your character outright. If you die, you can take over playing as one of your children, so the main focus of this game is to ensure that you have someone to pass your legacy on to. You can have these children naturally with a spouse, or you can adopt children, so there's a lot of different avenues to creating a legacy. This game is also very inclusive in how they portray romance, gender, and relationships, which is a huge point in its favor. There's also a collection mechanic similar to the community center in Stardew Valley, where you're trying to open the way for souls to travel to the afterlife by completing quests on a series of pillars. This mechanic just kind of helps keep you moving forward in the game, kind of gives you something to work towards, and they are very similar. If you played Stardew Valley, very similar to the community center. I also absolutely loved the graphics in this game. The developers chose a fairly unique art style, which I think really helps set it apart from the pack. But as with most things, this game's greatest strengths are also its greatest weaknesses, in my personal opinion. Because of the way time is represented, with the characters being non-static, they end up feeling really shallow and can become really samey over time as personality traits end up getting reused. The game does do a pretty good job of counteracting this by having a wide range of personality traits and interests, so the characters don't just end up being carbon copies of each other, but they're just not as fleshed out as you would find in a lot of other farming games. If you're expecting to experience the touching cutscenes that exist in most farm games, where you learn about these characters and their lives and their interests slowly as you get to know them over the seasons, this just isn't something that Plum Grove can accomplish because of the way it's been designed. I also found the mechanic of diseases to be really stressful and disruptive. To the game's credit, there are loads of toggles in the options that allow you to opt out of most of the more stressful parts of this game, such as disease. So if you find half the town dying and suddenly finding yourself with no town blacksmith to be too inconvenient, you can turn all of those features off. For me personally, I do prefer the slower pace and the deeper story of other farming games. I get a lot of satisfaction out of learning about characters and seeing their personalities develop over time through these cutscenes as you get to know them. So in that sense, Echoes of the Plum Grove just lost me fairly early. I do think this is a great game though. I love a lot of the new ideas it has, but for me, it just divorces itself too far from the genre to really scratch the same itch as those other games. So if you like farm games and are eager to see a new take on them, this is definitely one to go check out. At number 4, it's going to be the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is an interactive indie adventure game where you play as Fortuna, a witch who's been exiled to an asteroid for a millennium due to a controversial fortune that she gave regarding the future of her coven. There are aspects of this game that I loved, and there are some aspects that really just didn't sit well with me. I played the first section of the game on my channel, and I did eventually finish the whole thing on my own, and my love-hate relationship with this game kind of continued through the whole way. On the one hand, I really, really love games that have an occult theme, and the crafting and reading of tarot cards in this game in particular was really, really fun and interesting. I also thought that overall the story was really interesting and well told throughout. It was engaging, it kept me interested. I enjoyed the storytelling, and there were some pretty good twists as the story went on. It was extremely emotional, and all of the choices along the way felt meaningful. However, at the end of the game, I did struggle as those choices kind of came home to roost. My poor little depressed brain really struggled with the weight of it all in the end. It wasn't necessarily triggering for me, but it did feel just a little too heavy. Everything just kind of sat a little bit too heavy. So this is just something to keep in mind if you also have mental health struggles. It's not necessarily an uplifting game. It has uplifting elements, but your decisions really do have consequences. There are points where you have to make choices that aren't super fun, and those choices will eventually come back around to get you. I also struggled a bit with the way that gender is represented in this game. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this area. In the lore, only women can become witches, and it is very inclusive in the way that it represents women, which is definitely a plus. However, it sort of results in this sort of hand-waving of half of the population, which can include trans men as well as some non-binary people. It just felt a little bit awkward and uncomfortable to me in a way that I can't quite explain. And like I said, I'm not really an expert in this area, but it just kind of left me with questions. I do love the kind of girl power aspect of this. And in a world of games that often highlight male characters, this was really, really great. So perhaps this is just my unconscious sexism that's at work here. I'm not quite sure. I figured I'd mention it though, because it was something that sort of bothered me as I was playing it. If you've played this game, please do let me know in the comments what you thought. I'm curious to hear what other people's takes were on this in particular. I know this can be a really polarizing discussion, but it feels like it is sort of worth having because of the way that they chose to address it. All that being said, I did really enjoy this game. If you really like deep emotional storytelling, if you have an interest in things occult, this is a really enjoyable game from indie developers. So go check it out if you think it might be interesting for you. At number 3, we have Preserve. Preserve is a nature puzzle game where you build an environment and populate it with plants and animals and try to make a balanced ecosystem. I played the demo of this game on my channel a while back, and the full game is scheduled for release in Q3 of this year, which is 2024. This is just a really chill, relaxing game where you build beautiful environments. The demo just has the one map available, but there are a number of others planned for the full release. This game is also surprisingly strategic. Different combinations of animals give you different bonuses to your score, and to unlock more map pieces, you need to hit certain score breakpoints. It makes for a really nice balance of sort of relaxing, chill gameplay that still challenges you to think about what you're doing and to plan ahead as you progress. There's not really a lot else to say about this game, honestly. I really enjoyed my time playing it. The graphics are just beautiful. It's just really, really relaxing. As of recording, the demo is still available, so I encourage you to go download it on Steam and see what you think, and support these devs if you think this is something you might like. At number 2, we have Rusty Lake Roots. Rusty Lake Roots is an indie point-and-click adventure game that is part of a series of games made by the same developer. I've recently learned from comments after I played this that this game has lore that is linked between games, which is a really cool touch, and apparently there's quite a community around the lore in this game. I played Rusty Lake Hotel as one of the very first games I played on this channel, so I was really excited to try Rusty Lake Roots. If you're familiar with this series, the atmosphere of these games is just really strange, dark, with also this really kind of cool, humorous twist. It's not really a game I can compare to anything else that I've played. So if you enjoy point-and-click adventures, particularly with more adult themes, I really recommend this series. Rusty Lake Roots follows a family through generations. You start playing as a single man who inherits a house and this strange tree seed from his uncle after his death. And as the tree grows, the branches of the tree represent his family members, so his wife, his children, and the important life events of that family, such as marriages, births, death. It's a really well-designed game, and for those who have asked, I am going to complete this on the channel in the near future after we've wrapped up some of the other series that we have going on. If you like these kinds of games, dark humor, I definitely recommend these. The puzzles are super, super fun, without being too hard or frustrating. It kind of keeps you on track in the sense that everything is sort of self-contained. Each story is sort of self-contained as you go through the generations. So, I don't know, it's just a really interesting way of storytelling that they've chosen here, and it really keeps you guessing every step of the way. You will constantly be surprised by this game. If you've played one of the Rusty Lake games before and you enjoyed it, you'd almost certainly like this one. And if you like point-and-click adventures or you're looking for something a little bit different, definitely check it out. And at number 1 this month, we have Clanfolk. Clanfolk is a colony management game, and instead of focus on an unrelated group of people, this game focuses on a family as they settle in the Scottish Highlands. I absolutely adored this game. I played a short series on the channel as we tried to sort of survive our first winter. I also invested quite a few hours in my own personal game off camera. The setting in this game is amazing, and I absolutely love the soundtrack for this game. It's just, I can't say enough about it. It's just so well crafted for the world that you're in. This game actually feels a lot like RimWorld, but without the threat of constant raids and crippling events that block out the sun for months at a time. Instead, the focus is more on building, growing your family, unlocking new items, and surviving the inhospitable Scottish winters. There's also a reputation system in this game that allows you to trade with other clans, as well as an innkeeping mechanic where you host guests and get paid based on how well you provide for their needs. It's worth mentioning that this game is in early access, so the developers are still actively working on it. If you enjoy colony management games, particularly the building parts of it, then this is definitely something worth checking out. It's got a really cool tech tree that you can work through over time. You start out with very little, just sort of straw huts and things like this, and slowly over time you learn how to build with stone and with wood and go from cooking over fires to cooking with cook pots and preserving food. It's got a nice relaxing vibe without being easy. I really can't say enough about this game. There's a reason it's at number 1, obviously. If you're interested in seeing how it plays, I just finished an 8-episode series on my channel. There'll be a link to the playlist if you're interested in checking that out, or if you feel like you need more convincing on whether or not it's worth the purchase. I absolutely love this game, and if you like colony management games, I'm sure you'll probably like this one. So that's it for our countdown this month. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more. I also do Let's Plays, but I try to get one of these videos out every month. I'll have a playlist of my other review videos in the description as well as on the end screen. I don't just highlight games that are new releases, but my focus instead is on games that I play for the first time, so the lists tend to be really varied. I think that they're pretty good, so check those out if you think that sounds like something you might be interested in. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for your support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!